Okay guys, let's get started then. So week 3, I am anticipating that you guys read ahead and worked on some of this. So this is meal tracking and prepping, and it's, it would seem at first thought, it's the most important part is to know what to eat, and whereas that is important, you can't really put that into play at all without proper meal tracking and meal prepping. Meal prepping is the big deal, right? So this is an important part of your long-term success, is figuring out how to meal prep. And like I was also saying, meal tracking, so monitoring what you're doing to get a real grasp on what it is you're consuming throughout the day, right? Because otherwise you're kind of just it's a shot in the dark. You're like, oh, I think this is right? Okay. If you write it all down, then you can look at it, I can look at it. If you use the MyFitnessPal app that we were talking about, that does it all for you. At the end of the day, you can just look. It gives you, like your proteins, your carbs, your fats. It shows you it all. So it's really useful. Okay. Let's see here. So we had some updates. And then for the people watching at home, you can email me with your updates. But another 3 pounds off for Marty. Another 2 pounds off for Aretha. Eva emailed in with a total of 12 pounds lost so far. Debbie lost another 3 pounds, so it keeps coming off. Not everyone had more weight loss, that's okay. There's a lot of different factors that go into your weight on the scale. So just because the scale didn't change doesn't mean that your body fat didn't go down, or your muscle mass increased, or you're being more hydrated so you have more fluids in your body. There's a lot of different things, like I said, that contribute to your weight going up and down, okay? So hopefully you got your measurements done at the start of this, or relatively close to the start of this, so that when we're done with the 4 weeks, we can measure and then get the big picture of what you're able to accomplish with body fat composition change and all that, okay? Okay, so how to track and journal meals is the first part we're gonna go over. There is a like a little journal thing in the back of your book. It is just plain and simple right here. So you can use this if you want to write it out. Like I said, I really recommend using the MyFitnessPal app because it's so much easier to just smartphone, boom, put it in. Oh, yep, that's what. And it even guesses like, do you mean this? And you're like, yes, I do. That's what I'm eating. And that just makes it so much faster. More convenient everything is, the easier it is to do, right? Yeah. So so hiking upward, I forget where I put that link. Back of that. So the question was hikingupward.com. I put that in here. It's a caloric calculator. Did anyone else try and find it?
I did. People have a bunch of trails.
Okay, so that's probably not what I think it is that just didn't get put in as the full URL. It's hikingupward.com/something else. And so the big deal with that is that it gives you like a full, like it asks you for your, not just your height and weight, but it also wants to know your muscle mass, your activity level, because those things there are factors that go into figuring it out. Trying to see if I have a link here on my phone, easy. There it is. Okay, so it's hikingupward.com. I will email this all to you, but it's /CAL_CALC.ASP. And like I said, I will email that to you so you have it, but that's the full URL anyway, okay? Okay, so back to where we were just a moment ago, how to track and journal meals. So doing this is going to really help you to, like I said, learn what you're eating. Make sure you're logging all snacks and drinks. If you can log in water too, it's good to track your water consumption. Aretha was telling me about a cool little app. What was it called again? Plant Nanny. Plant, like, like a plant that you water. Nanny. and it's like a little game in your, like in the app, you just put in how much water you drink, and then it's like you're watering a plant. And then if you're not drinking enough water, it shows you that your plant is dying. It's like, you need to drink more water, you need to drink more water, the plant's dying. So
when we're tracking like the water we're drinking, we just put on the total volume for the day?
yeah, you can put down total volume for a day.
I drink so much and such and such, so much and such.
Right, yeah. You can, if you are drinking out of a gallon jug and you finish a gallon jug, you can write down 1 gallon. Or if you're drinking smaller containers, you know, like 1 32 ounce, 2 32 ounces, stuff like that. However you want to track it, but you're trying to add up to 128 ounces per day. Minimum 64. Okay, so let's see here. The next tip on how to log successfully would be to do it as either before you eat or as you're sitting down and eating. So if you're eating your food, you might as well, hey, I'll just enter this in. A lot of people will scroll through Facebook or something else on their phone while they're eating. It's entertainment. Well, instead of getting on social media or surfing the web, log your food in. Okay, it's something to do while you're eating, right? And just right there in front of you. And a lot of times too, you think later on like, oh yeah, wait, I forgot to log that in. And then you're trying to remember everything that was, maybe you missed a couple ingredients that had calories or macro importance to your meal, and it throws it off. So try and do it as you're eating it or before. Stay consistent and dedicated. So it's all about remembering why you're doing this. It can seem tedious to track your foods, and like I say here, you don't have to do it forever. I've found for myself every once in a while, I'm like, I gotta track my meals again. And I'll do it for like 2 weeks. I can't seem to get past 2 weeks, but I have a pretty good snapshot of what I'm eating right now, and it kind of refreshes my memory on this is what it is to consume. For me, it's like 3,600 to 4,000 calories a day is kind of my range where I need to be in. And sometimes I get too low, sometimes I get too high. So it's good to get back in that zone. I move around a lot throughout the day. Move around a lot, and anyway. Yeah. It's not all fruits and veggies. That'd be a full-time job. Yeah, so, and then check, like this next point here, this is like I was saying, like I'd like to do, check back in from time to time with your meal tracking. So even if it's once a month, you're just like, okay, this week I'm gonna, track my meals. That way you're kind of just like constant reminder, okay, you really stay on track if you do that, especially with something like that, okay? Next thing here is talking about the meal tracker that I put in the back of here if you want to use that, if you don't have a smartphone or don't feel like using a smartphone. Talks about the MyFitnessPal app. Now, next page. Generic macro breakdown. I should have underlined generic there. So if you look at fat loss, maintenance, and building muscle, these will be different for different people. So the titles, the labels on top of these ratios are not 100% true. Now if you look at the fat loss one, it's got a lot of protein, very little carbohydrates, decent amount of fat. This is kind of edging more towards a Atkins style high protein diet. It will make you lose weight. This is why it's labeled as fat loss. And this is, like I say, generic. So if you were to look these up online, this is usually what you'd find listed for fat loss. It's something really high protein. And as we've talked about earlier, that's not really long-term successful for you, especially when you get back to eating some carbs. Your body will want to store them because you've deprived the body of this preferred form of energy for a time period. Oh, you're giving my energy source back. Let's store it and save it for later. Thanks. Okay? Trying to avoid that, right? Don't want to have storage. So getting on something that's more along the lines of like, say, the maintenance. Now it says maintenance, right? Yes. Good to maintain long-term health and fat loss goals. So if you were to eat the maintenance profile along with a structured workout program where you burn calories every day, you do things full body moves to boost your metabolism, and you're eating whole grains, whole foods, lots of fruits and vegetables, lots of fiber, this will help you lose weight. Just a quick peek at the building muscle one. It's got a lot of carbohydrates, and this is why when I was going back to when I was mentioning, like for myself, having more calories coming in during the day. That's how I get more calories in, is I eat a lot more carbs, but I'm also trying to build muscle with my workouts, lifting really heavy, trying to really tax the body. So I do need to have more carbs, and thus it gives me more calories, so keep that in mind. You might not need that high of a profile of carbohydrates, depending on your overall energy expenditure during the day. Okay, so I would recommend maintenance for almost everyone. Certain people would go from one side to the other. Some people, so let's talk, this isn't on here, but let's just go over this real quick. There are 3 main body types. There's an ectomorph on one end of the spectrum and an endomorph on the other end of the spectrum. Ectomorphs are what are termed as hard gainers. It's hard to gain muscle, it's hard to gain fat. It's just, you can eat and it goes right through you. Endomorphs, they're easy gainers. Easier to build muscle, easier to add on fat. And then you've got where most people lie, somewhere in between, in a mesomorph blend of the two. And so it's trying to figure out, where do you think you are in that spectrum and how far do you slide from side to side? Are you an easier gainer? Are you a harder gainer? If you are an easier gainer, you might want to have a little bit more protein in your diet and maybe edge more to the fat loss profile. If you are an ectomorph, you would probably want to go more toward the build muscle side and give yourself a little bit more carbohydrates so that you're not burning through your own muscle fiber for energy. Okay, but that's a little bit off topic. It's not in here, but something to keep in mind that it really has to play into your body type. So, going on to counting calories real quick. So this isn't something that usually it's like, oh, you need to count calories. And if you're eating the right types of foods, you don't even really need to worry too much about portion sizes or counting calories or anything, because you're eating the right kinds of food. And when I say the right kinds of food, like when you have your plate and you're putting down your food, first thing to go on is 2, 3 heaping piles of vegetables, and then you're going to take some complex carbs and put it on top, and then you put some protein on and some healthy fats or whatever. And then it's like, if you're doing it like that, you almost don't really have to worry about what you're putting on. You're eating the right types of foods. But like I'm saying, to have a good concept overall, let's count calories for once or twice. And so using the tracker, using the app to see how many calories you're having in a day, where it plays into. And the other cool thing about the MyFitnessPal is hard to have on you while you're working out, unless, well, you have pockets in your shorts and you carry it. But there are certain ways in using the little Fitbits can really track it as well too. But they will take into consideration then how much you've moved throughout the day. So like the MyFitnessPal app, it tracks every step you take. It's got a little pedometer in it. So as you're moving and doing stuff throughout the day, it's saying, okay, you moved this far, you actually get this much more calories in order to reach your maintenance level and or loss, right? So it shows you and takes that in consideration. Counting calories will just really open your eyes and give you the realization of where you need to be, how much, how far, how little, how less. Okay, and then hiking upward, I gave you the correct one. I'll email that back out. Okay, so next page on the first part here is just a little more education on the matter. 1 gram of protein, 4 calories. 1 gram of carbohydrates, 4 calories. 1 gram of fat is 9 calories. So the fat is the most dense of all the foods in terms of the energy. And like I was saying, protein can convert simply into a carbohydrate energy, which is why it makes sense that they would be about the same in terms of their calories. And then fat, over twice as much. And usually why you have to be cautious with how much you have per meal, and it's one of the lower ends of what you're having. And that's like I said, just for education. There's no real play into this, like it's not a matter of stay away from fats because it's higher in calories. That's not at all what I want this to illustrate. But just so you have the knowledge to know what's going on when you're eating foods. The fats are really good for your body and do a lot of really good things inside you, so you need to have them, especially if they're the right kind of fats. And like I've said before numerous times, you can burn fats if they're healthy fats. They don't just automatically go to storage. The bad fats that you eat, your body looks at those and it's like solving a Rubik's Cube. It's like, put it in the closet, I'll do it later. I can't solve a Rubik's Cube right now. I got other stuff to do. Okay, meal prepping. Let's get into this here. This is your money maker. This is where it all is going to boil down. So Marty was just showing me he got a little travel pack, and it's a little cooler bag, and you can open the front of it, and it's got 1, 2, 3 Tupperwares, 1, 2, 3 Tupperwares, and then a little cooler or a little ice pack that goes in between them. On the side, it's got a little pouch for your shaker bottle, and I mean, it's got a little. That's how you do it, right? Because if you're going to be gone, Marty's gone throughout the day. He's out working, loads up his food, boom, boom, boom. He's got his food bag, cruising around through the day. There you go. Hungry, meal, open, eat. Yay! And that's the thing, right? Because before he was stopping at fast food. He's like, I'm hungry. Where should I go? You know? But now it's just, where should I? Oh, I have a bag. That's where I go. Healthy food. Boom, done. And it's, you know, it's easier than going to fast food. It takes less time. It's right there.
Cheaper.
It's cheaper. Fast food is seemingly expensive, I've noticed. I don't really go into those places too often, but when I do, I'm like, huh? This costs like $6 or $7 for a meal. I thought a burger was like 99 cents. How did it get so expensive? Anyway, so that's one of the good tips, is to get that cooler bag if you're not at home. If you've got a fridge at work, you know, we've got a fridge here, so I'll come with 2 or 3 Tupperwares and just put them in the fridge. Also, of course, there's a grocery store next door, so it makes it easier for me to go get stuff for smoothies. We got a blender back there, and I like making smoothies all day. Okay, so with your meal prepping, let's talk about how to meal prep here. Getting into these steps, I've kind of laid them out here. So initially, you're going to try and set aside you know, a good block of time, because there's the learning curve with pretty much everything in life, and this is no exception to that. So when you first start your meal prepping, give yourself a little bit more time. I'm saying here 1 to 3 hours. You know, just depending on you and how your brain works, it could take you more time, it could take you less time. But the more you do it, the faster you'll do it. You might realize you need other tools, different Tupperware, different whatever, different pans for cooking, things to make it easier. Maybe, you know, like we've got a George Foreman grill that we'll use. You can fit 3 chicken breasts on there. Maybe you decide you want to buy one of the industrial George Foreman, so you can put 6 chicken breasts on there. Whatever, you know, you decide that you need to do. But in this process, you'll start to make things faster. You know, you'll systematize it. So number 2, be prepared to cook enough servings to last you for a whole week. And you don't have to, especially with maybe like complex carbs and veggies, do all that. I like doing enough protein for a whole week. That just seems to take more time. You know, kind of getting that out of the way, and it seems to last longer. You know, if you cook vegetables, like we're talking about blanching vegetables, that doesn't seem to last too long. You know, 3 days, and those are kind of nasty. Yeah, so vegetables might not be that. Complex carbs, they can last a whole week, but brown rice by day 5 or 6 is starting to smell a little different. It doesn't have that, you know, same aromatic smell that it once did when you first cooked it. But, you know, trying to cook every single night and meal prep for the next day is possible. If it works for you to do that, you know, like in our house, dinner is meal prepping for the next day. But my wife cooks my dinner, so it's really easy for me to meal prep. Unless if you don't have the time or someone to do it for you, then, you know, doing more at one time is probably going to be more beneficial. But it is kind of nice to have a fresh dinner every night, a nice healthy dinner, and then tomorrow it's, you know, I bring 2 of those leftover meals for myself. I have breakfast at home, and then I've got 2 meals for here, and then another meal at home throwing a couple of smoothies throughout the day with the blender back here, and that's a pretty good day of nutrition for me. And then my wife will have one for herself too, but that's, you know, she made one meal for herself at night, one meal for me, two for me the next day, and one for her the next day. That's 5 meals in one, so that's kind of, so if you're just cooking for yourself though, it might be easy enough to, you know, spread that out, you know, maybe make one more, and that lasts you for 3 days. So you'll figure it out for yourself what system works, and that's kind of what I'm getting into here with just getting used to the system. Using the oven or a barbecue to mass cook your meat. Summertime is gone. It's raining now. It's harder to barbecue if your barbecue's under cover. The barbecue is great. I love that for, you know, you can line up so much protein on there, grilled veggies on there. It's just awesome for meal prepping. But you can always put stuff in a pan and put it in the oven and cook it up as well. So that's, you know, stovetop is a little bit harder to mass cook proteins, but it works. So beginning to prep and cook complex carb on the stove. So I have these kind of laid out in an order of as how my mind sees it works and the steps you're going to do it. So starting the meats first, then starting the complex carbs, letting those cook. So for complex carbs, right, we've got quinoa, brown rice, whole beans, potatoes. So whatever you're looking at, you've got lists of complex carbs in here. So kind of going off that, what you're going to cook, what you're going to eat, what you know, you can have multiple types. Let's see here. Rinse, clean, and cut the fruits or veggies that you're going to be using, getting those ready, and then using the stovetop to cook those. Your Tupperwares then, gallon freezer bags, getting ready to put it all in and be ready to go with that. So putting meals together as planned. You can freeze things in the gallon bags, like the homemade stir fry in freezer bags works pretty good. You can always just, you know, a freezer bag full of stir fry that thaws out, you know, in 3 to 4 hours. By the time you're gonna pop it in the microwave, boom, ready to go. You got a nice warm meal of stir fry. And then just the last one here, make sure that you get the frozen foods out and thawed before you're ready to use them. Let's see here. So that's the end of that. What questions might you have at this moment? Anything pop into mind? So it's very thorough then. No questions. Perfect.
Well, we all studied, like you told us.
Yeah, these guys studied. Right, okay. So I don't have week 4 in this book. Remind me what week 4 says.
We don't have week 4 either. Customized meal plan and tips.
Okay.
And it's got your recipes.
Yes. Okay, so I'll add week 4. I'll print those off and add them to your books here in 2 seconds, or as soon as we're done. So just to go over, I want you guys to go through week 4, before week 4, just like you did for week 3. So this is, it talks about how to make your own meal plan, because you can't always rely on something that someone else gave you. It's, you know, you're trying to learn how to do this for yourself because you've got a lifetime of doing it for yourself. So this is going to, in this next week, allow you to, or teach you to write your own meal plan. So hopefully then when you come next week, you will have already tried to write your own meal plan so that if you have questions, we can talk about it. And of course it will make more sense because you've already tried it once. Okay? And it's, you know, it goes through writing over your grocery list and all that kind of stuff, creating your meals, how to plan it out. And then the other part of it is just, you know, tips for eating at restaurants and on the go, that kind of stuff. There's lots of tips. And, you know, as you search for higher meaning in your nutrition, you know, you will actually come up with, you'll learn stuff and things, and then you'll have your own tips. And then as you get down the road and you're like super fit and you're telling your friend, oh yeah, well if you try this, this will help you with this. And they're like, oh, that's a good tip. Where are you doing that? I figured it out. I read the internet. Okay, and then, so any questions about the meal plan that you've been on this week? You guys have been going through it, and it's fine. And you guys, are you creating your own right now, or are you? Yeah. Are you using those recipes?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anyone else using recipes?
Say, I mean, some of them obviously are one serving, some are not.
Yeah.
But it doesn't say, so it's like the breakfast would be 1, 2.
Oh, the serving size for like, yeah.
Yeah, the serving size.
Gotcha. That would have been useful. I'll add that in. I'll give you an update. So yeah, and I guess in terms of, so if you're following the recipes, the serving sizes were not written in there. So use your best estimate, and if you are meal tracking, like you can enter this all in, and it will tell you how many you should be having, really, because you'll be able to see how many calories you're getting out of the ingredients. And you don't have to add in, like, you know, cinnamon and baking soda. It's just for the cookies, for example. You know, you can pick, like, you can kind of see what the main macronutrient ingredients are. Add those in. So for these breakfast cookies, I think you're looking at 2 to 3 for a serving, as far as I recall. Yeah. Yeah, the oatmeal banana cookies.
And I did the overnight applesauce.
Nice. Yes.
How many times a day should we be eating? Like 3 meals and like 2 snacks?
Yeah. So how many meals a day should you be eating? What works well into how American society is built is to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner and 2 snacks. You don't have to do that. I do something completely different than that. I just, you know, I will eat breakfast and then I'll eat second breakfast, and so you just kind of, you know, whatever works for you, and you'll just, if you're starving, and like once you start tracking your calories in the app and you can see how much you're having throughout the day, it'll start to make more sense for you. But also here I can eat whenever I want, so if I'm hungry I eat. Whereas if you're at work, maybe you can't eat whenever you want. Maybe you can only eat during lunch. Maybe you can only eat during break, right? So I know everyone gets a lunch break. It's illegal to not have a lunch break. So that's why I make with breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So you get your 3 meals in, and you always have, you know, if you're working X amount of hours, you have to have, you know, 2 breaks as well. So then you got time to have a snack. So you can kind of use it like that.